Disney's own audience has rejected the apology of their Princess Snow White, an actress whose casting in the movie was considered bold and progressive according to the DEI agenda of Disney, but that decision really turned into a disaster of delays, controversy, and backlash.
Posting a video where she said, if you're not voting for Kamala, unfollow me. I don't need your business. Telling over half of the audience for her Disney live-action bastardization of...
The decision has proven the worst ever for Disney. Just 3 years before the most critical release in Disney history, Snow White, when Rachel debuted 3 years back in West Side Story, there were clear signs that she might shoot herself in her own foot along with bringing disaster for Disney. What everyone feared happened. Rachel made blunder after blunder, and when she made a move to correct them, it was even wilder. For a moment, she looked good. For example, during the promotion for West Side Story, Rachel seemed eager to highlight her background. Then the situation turned into a whole discussion about what it means to be of Latin descent, with her questioning things like,
language, does it matter? Do you eat the food? Does it matter? Where do you come from? And how do you feel about who you are? And are you comfortable in your...
It was almost like she was trying to fit into every box and none at the same time. She even admitted to struggling with imposter syndrome back then, claiming, I haven't done any other film projects, but I'm constantly pinching myself. For a moment it seemed like she was genuinely grateful for the opportunity, but unfortunately that moment didn't last long. Rachel showed her true colors when she started whining publicly about not being invited to the 94th Academy Awards, and a lot of other things. Keep in mind, her movie was nominated for multiple awards, but instead of handling it gracefully, she took to Twitter sarcastically announcing she'd be wearing sweatpants and my boyfriend's flannel from her couch. It was really dramatic, to say the least. She didn't stop there either. She kept posting about how disappointed she was, practically begging for sympathy from fans online, and guess what? It worked. Disney swooped in like a fairy godmother, waved their wand, and suddenly Rachel had an invite fight, and not just to attend, but to present. It felt like that moment flipped a switch for Rachel. She was like, hey, I've got Disney backing me, I can do whatever I want, and boy did she take that to heart. Fast forward to her next big PR disaster, this time during the promotion of Shazam! Fury of the Gods. When asked why she took the role, her response wasn't about the story or character. Nope, she flat out admitted, I needed a job. It's not what you'd expect to hear on a red carpet, and naturally it ruffled some feathers. Then, to make things even worse, she showed up wearing a top with a blunt, almost rude message on it, sparking even more outrage.
If I'm going to stand there 18 hours in a dress of an iconic Disney princess, I deserve to be paid for every hour that it is streamed on.
Whoa.
But let's not forget the moment that really cemented her reputation, being cast as Disney's new Snow White. You'd think landing such an iconic role would inspire some humility or at least professionalism. Instead, Rachel took every opportunity to trash the original Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. She called it outdated, criticized the storyline, and even admitted she'd only watched it once because it scared her as a kid. That's not exactly the kind of attitude you'd expect from someone representing a beloved Disney princess. Fans weren't having it. Disney fans in particular were livid. Snow White is one of the most iconic characters in animation history, and here was the actress playing her, openly bashing the film that started it all. To make matters worse, there was drama around the depiction of the dwarves in the movie, leaving Disney to scrap and reshoot parts of the film. These delays and the immense backlash were reportedly a big factor in Disney's decision to push the release date back by a whole year. Publicly they blamed the actors' strike, but insiders suggested the real reason was fear that the film would tank at the box office after all the controversy surrounding Rachel's comments and the overall depiction of the project. Disney's Snow White remake has turned into an absolute train wreck, and it's largely thanks to Rachel Zegler. At this point, she might be the poster child for how one person can single-handedly derail a project. It's not just about the delays or the massive budget of over $200 million, but the fact that Rachel's own behavior has alienated the very audience Disney needs to win over. The massive boycott started back in August, when the film's trailer received 1.3 million dislikes. The fan response was so brutal that branding experts warned Disney that this could spell disaster for their remake and any other future sequels they might have dreamed of. Crisis talks, you better believe those were happening behind closed doors.
There's very, very narcissistic, I'm better than everyone, I know better, I'm going to represent the right version of Snow White for the modern audiences, not that, love story.
You would think damage control might help enter Disney's PR efforts, which included a fluff piece in Variety aimed at making Rachel more palatable. Spoiler alert, it did the opposite instead of acknowledging her mistakes or showing any genuine growth. Rachel leaned into playing the victim, doubling down on her divisive attitude. It was like she couldn't help herself. The article was supposed to make her look better, but it backfired spectacularly because fans could see right through it, and then she came up with her so-called apology. Realistically speaking, this wasn't Rachel's heartfelt moment when she admitted her mistake, but it was Disney's PR executive's words that were copy-pasted for the audience. Well, fans knew it, and the apology felt cold, rehearsed, and frankly fake. YouTubers, influencers, and even public figures, they apologize all the time, and fans have become pros at spotting a canned statement. Rachel's apology was no exception, and the internet wasted no time ripping it apart. The responses were brutal. Fans called out her behavior that was antagonizing audiences. They noted that this wasn't a one-off mistake but a clear personality trait. Some even pointed out that Rachel had a hand in Disney's controversial firing of Gina Carano. Remember that Gina was let go over a social media post that some found offensive, but people are saying Rachel's comments have been far worse, and yet she gets to keep her role. The hypocrisy wasn't lost on anyone, and it only fueled the anger. Fans didn't just reject her apology, they outright mocked it. Replies flooded in accusing Rachel being insincere and calling the statement a PR stunt orchestrated by Disney. The consensus was clear, nobody was buying it. Comments like "she doesn't mean it, too little too late," and "this is just Disney damage control" dominated the conversation. Some even said it would have been better if she hadn't apologized at all because the attempt only made things worse.
It says, you had an actress out there just talking shit constantly. She won't shut the up. And yes, it has hurt the movie. To roll out there and say Rachel Zegler's act over the last year and a half has not affected this movie is utter.
Adding to the chaos is the mountain of bad buzz surrounding the film itself, with a reported budget north of $200 million. Snow White needs to gross at least $400 million, likely closer to $600 million, just to break even. That's a tall order for any film, let alone one that's been dogged by controversy since day one. Fans have been vocal about boycotting the movie, and Rachel's involvement seems to be the #1 reason why. It's hard to ignore how much damage Rachel has caused Disney, even after reshooting scenes, delaying the release by a year, and pouring millions more into the project. The negativity hasn't subsided. In fact, it's only growing louder. Disney is likely counting down the days until they can release this movie and frankly wash their hands of the whole situation. Rachel Zegler might have thought she was untouchable, but this fiasco is proving otherwise. Share what you have to say about Disney and Rachel's downfall in the comments below. Remember to subscribe for more videos on woke Disney and their actors getting bashed by the audience. See you in the next video.